Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Growing up I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes this day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
Don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Now, if I had a voice that reached 100 million people, I'd tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given. Won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church.
Don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Well, hello everyone. How are you doing? And each time I see a video, I feel like my hair is getting longer and longer. If y'all remember, I used to have the pixie cut. And ever since COVID, I couldn't find anyone to cut my hair well. So I've just decided to let it grow, I guess. Okay, let's do the YouTuber stuff and we will get right into this. I will probably be doing another show this evening. It depends. I'm still deciding, but let's get into this subject. I would really appreciate if you hit the subscribe button, and let me take this one thing off the screen so I can put some of the other ones on there. Please consider also following me on Twitter. I am Karen Ann Harlos on Twitter, and no, I will not use the word X. I will not indulge Elon's weird letter fetish. It will always be Twitter. And last but not least, I do have a Patreon. If you enjoy this somewhat eclectic content at patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty, I would really like to build that back up for this year. Kind of let that get a bit neglected. And usually I say this last but not least, and I think I did say that, but I am going to stick a tiny URL that will be at the bottom of the screen for the entire show. For those of you who do not know, I have decided to rerun for the position of LNC Secretary and am doing Limited fundraising. When I say limited fundraising, there's some things I need to pay for, and I absolutely would appreciate your support, but it's not the blitzkrieg I did in 2022. I raised a lot of money, and every single weekend was at a different convention. This is going to be a little bit more limited. My job would not tolerate me being gone that long, but also I'm very much a known factor, but I would like to get out to several conventions. The California convention now is fully funded. I am going out there. All the expenses are taken care of for that. I have also paid for my portion of a national convention table. And hello, Hannah. It was good to see you all. Arizona was such a blast. And this story comes out of an experience, but not with the Arizona Libertarian Party, because if y'all had your way, there wouldn't be a TSA. Hey, that rhymed. Anyway, so my convention table, my portion of it, because I am sharing it with a few other candidates, has been fully funded. I would say maybe halfway to a third to half, I guess is the way to put it, to funding a mailer. And the last thing right now, the last thing I'd really like to do is the Texas convention. So there's a link. I would really appreciate your donation. It is tinyurl.com/LNC secretary. So let's get into the story. Now, I'm going to say right off the bat, this isn't going to be the most horrifying TSA story you've ever heard. We've heard some doozies, but this shouldn't be a competition. Like, the TSA is utter trash and shouldn't exist. And it is amazing to me that when I told the story I'm going to tell you guys on Twitter, like some of the statists that are coming out of the woodwork. Now, they weren't my followers. My Twitter feed is public, so I get comments from all over. But so many of them were like looking to blame the victim. So let's get a little bit of background here. First of all, I pay for TSA pre. I'm on my second 5-year stint of that. For several reasons. I travel a lot. It's more convenient. And I do not go through that rights violating x-ray machine. I just do not. I don't have to justify to anyone why I do not. It's completely and utterly absurd. And before I bought TSA pre, I would just say, no, not going through it. You're going to have to do the pat down. You're going to have to earn your molestation the old-fashioned way. And if you remember when all of this was starting to get instituted, it was always said, listen, you can always opt out. You go through that thing, or you have to do the pat down. Opting out was always an option. There are some people who can't go through that thing. That's not mine. I can't morally go through that thing. But there are some people who literally physically can't for one reason or another. I morally just refuse. I will not give in to that. So this is an option that they are supposed to have, that you will get a pat down. If you refuse to go through the whirly, lift up your hands like you're a fucking criminal so they can, y'all know the objections. Whether you think they're silly or not, it's your right to refuse to do that, and then you do the alternative screening. But I pay for TSA pre, so that's just not even an issue. So you go through the x-ray machine, you're on your way. However, if you haven't had TSA pre, something you may not know, and I'm fully aware of it because it's happened to me before. I travel a lot. Every so often, it's random. Even if you go through the x-ray machine, you're the lucky winner of enhanced searching, where it's not because of, well, at least I presume it's not because of any kind of profiling or anything, that it's extremely random. Who knows? I don't trust the government. And I was the lucky winner this time in Tucson. And you want to know what? It's happened before. And I just do the pat down like I did before I got TSA pre. But when that went off, These people are just so freaking arrogant that they just automatically assume, oh, well, we're just going to wave you over to the handy dandy, unreasonable search machine. And I'm like, and they just like, and then I looked at them, I go, no, I'm not doing that. And the look of astonishment, like they weren't comprehending. I'm like, I do not go through your constitutional rights violating machine. I will take the pat down. And they're like, you need to go stand over there and we'll get somebody. I'm used to that. That's the way it always happens. But then they're like, but we need to tell you, it's going to be a while, maybe more than 30 minutes. My flight was leaving in 30 minutes. That is absolutely and utterly ridiculous. It's a form of coercion to go through that machine. When American citizens, and I don't usually pull the citizen crap, have the right to have the option to be patted down, it is their responsibility to have enough staff, and they did have enough staff to do that. And for the 2 seconds it takes, well, then they just got to pull somebody to do that rather than hassling somebody else. But they didn't like what I had to say when I said I was not going through their constitutional rights violating machine. So they decided, oh, we're going to make her wait. And while that statement in it of itself it could be viewed to be obnoxious, and I don't care. I don't care if government employees think it's the constitutional rights, and I'm not one of those people to pull that a lot either, is obnoxious. I didn't say it like yelling. I did not cuss. I just said it very firmly, and they decided they were going to get even. Because there was no reason to say that, oh, it's going to be at least 30 minutes. If you don't know the Tucson airport, it is tiny. There are not a ton of people in line. They could have even have taken the lady who was the one who originally tried to wave me into that machine to pat me down. So they were looking to pull their petty little tyrant crap on me. That's exactly what they were looking to do. Now, I was already having, now I'm going to give you a little bit of other background. My viewers, my regular viewers know this, though I'm not so sure how much sometimes people believe me, and I don't really care, but people might stumble upon this video, may not know this. I have autism. I'm not self-diagnosed. I'm not the newest TikTok trend where people are diagnosing themselves with Tourette's and everything under the sun. I literally have the evaluation that was quite thorough. And I do go through periods of autistic meltdowns. I've done one of them live on this stream before with what the last LNC did to me last term. Y'all might remember that live autistic meltdown that I had, which I deleted afterwards because it was probably inappropriate trauma dump to do live, but you don't always have the best judgment when you're going through that. It doesn't happen to me often, particularly as I'm a fully mature adult, but when I was a child, like, it manifested in just uncontrollable tantrums and whatever. But I was already having an extremely stressful time because I've got a severe flying phobia. So I don't tend to show it like with my hosts, but as it gets time for a flight, I get severely anxious, which is one reason why I spent the morning drinking Grand Marnier at the Yanuskovich's, and thank you so much for hosting me. And then my flight got canceled. And I'm having flashbacks of that Oregon debacle. I just wanted to get home. I don't like being in an airport. It tweaks my anxiety. Everything just gets me going. I was still very worried that this next flight was going to be canceled because Southwest doesn't give you any information other than vague weather. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean... Let's go to the flight cancellation for a second. So I was going directly from Tucson to Denver. It got canceled for weather, and they said there were weather problems in Denver on their general advisory. But I called Wayne. There were no weather problems here. So why was my flight canceled for weather? if they would just give you more information, such as, no, it wasn't canceled for weather because of where you're going. It's where the plane had, because those planes go all over the country. I mean, some just go back and forth between two destinations, but a lot of times they're making a circuit. So maybe it got delayed in Chicago or something like that. And you need that information when you're booking your next flight, because if the problem is Denver, that's not going to be fixed in 2 hours when I booked the next flight was only 2 hours later. So would I be better off doing a later one that routed through, I think it was LAX? They don't give you that information. So my anxiety was just super, super tweaking. I just wanted to get home, didn't want my luggage ending up somewhere else, whatever. That whole thing, starting to just get really autistically freaked out, just to be completely honest with you. So the minute they told me that half-hour thing, I was already on edge, and I was like, I felt it coming on. I'm like, oh my God, I am like going into full meltdown phase right now. So I went to the agent and I even told her. So they had this information. I said, listen, I go, I'm autistic. I don't mind telling you that. And this is like really, really setting me off, and I'm about to have a freaking meltdown. And I think they might have taken that as some kind of threat. Mine aren't throwing myself on the floor and freaking out. What happens is I just get emotionally overwrought and start bawling. That's what happens with me. I just get completely overwhelmed by emotions. So she was basically like, looked at me like, she didn't believe me and she didn't care. And then I said, why is it going to be 30 minutes? Now here's where I started getting obnoxious, and I didn't care at that point because I'm already crying. At that point, I just wanted to get the hell out of there because everyone's freaking looking at me as I'm like, feel like the spotlight's on me as I'm having a literal autistic meltdown, which is considered a legal disability in this country. Again, I don't play the ADA and all that other crap, but the fact is they are supposed to make accommodations. Fuck those rights violators. I will play every card under the sun, and I did. So now here's where I got a bit obnoxious. Literally. You might think I'm not getting in your constitutional rights violating machine was obnoxious. She goes, well, it's going to take that long to get a female agent. And I was like looking at her like, you're a female agent, honey, but I didn't say that. So you want to know what I said? And I don't care. I said, well, what if I told you I identified as a man? I said, can we just get a man to do it? Because I really don't give a shit. And she just like looked at me scornfully. Now, here's the thing. Isn't today self-ID? Was that transphobic? How did she know I didn't really identify as a man? I don't. But whatever. And then, so I went back to standing where I needed to stand. And she's like, well, I don't know when we're going to have anyone. I said, well, you want to know what right now? I feel like I identify as non-binary, so I don't really care. Get me whoever you have. Yes, that was getting a bit, but I just wanted to get the hell out of there. I was pulling every card under the book. And then I was like, and I want your name. I want your name, because she was just being a horrible, like just the looks and her attitude. It was just more like the petty tyrant air. She could tell I was really having difficulties. You have a grown-ass woman crying. There's obviously some difficulties there, and I told her right off the bat what it was. It'd be different if she didn't know, but I told her right off the bat, listen, I'm autistic. This is really causing me some problems right now. It was a random selection. I had TSA pre. They should be able to waive that if they don't have allegedly the staff to do the pat down. And all this was just a petty bullshit power move to try to get me to go through that damn machine, or to decide between that and missing my flight. Now, there was a supervisor there. Now, the supervisor was a lot nicer. They're all a bunch of tyrants, but let's put them on, they're brainwashed. A lot of them don't know what they're doing. This one, she knew exactly what she was doing. But the supervisor was a woman, was way nicer, saw what was going on. So she came over and I finally got my pat down after like 15 minutes. And you want to know what the really obnoxious little tyrant yells at me as I'm walking, back to go do, the molestation? Be sure to give her my name. So I got it written down. And yes, I escalated a complaint today, and allegedly it is going to the airport, who is going to get in touch with me. But it gets worse. So after the pat down, they're going through my shit, as they do. I was in Arizona to be a convention parliamentarian, which means I had a gavel with me, which was a Christmas gift from Mike Seebeck. That gavel was in my carry-on luggage to Tucson from Denver. No issues. But leaving Tucson back to Denver, they decided it was an issue. And I think they were just playing another petty game with me. If you're going to start talking about what common everyday items you could potentially use as a weapon, you can use a ballpoint pen as a weapon. It'd be much more dangerous. Could you conk someone on the head with a gavel? Yeah, I could conk someone on the head with my laptop. I mean, there's a million things. If someone is looking to be violent, there are a million everyday things they can use to be violent. And Mike Seebeck had a great point. He's like, if someone was coming through that was a known judge, would they take their gavel? They wouldn't. They were just doing a power play. So I had to leave that behind because I was already nearly late for my plane, which they knew. So I didn't have time to go try to find the FedEx box, go back through the line, and through all of that. There just was no time left if I wanted to go home. It was just completely and absolutely ridiculous. So if they still have that at the airport when allegedly they're going to get back with me, I'll pay for them to ship it to me. I'd like to have it back, but it's probably been discarded by now, or one of them went home with it. But this whole thing is absolutely ridiculous. The TSA is useless. If the problem was with a gavel, why wasn't it a problem leaving Denver? Because they can't do their job. Let's pretend like this is just, somebody is going to bring down America with a gavel. Why wasn't it a problem leaving Denver? It's not like when you're looking at that thing through an X-ray machine that it's hidden, I don't know, can look like something else. It's pretty distinctive, but whatever. People say that a lot of times. I've gotten things that I didn't intend to have in my bag, and then when I got to my destination, I'm like, holy crap. They didn't find this. And it was in my bag completely by accident. There's this credit card. I don't even know how to describe it. It folds into looking like a credit card, but it's actually a knife. That made it through TSA before. Now, I didn't mean to. I normally take all that crap out of my bag. And if they had found that, it was like something I got off of Wish that I just thought was cool. They could have thrown that out. I wouldn't have cared, but that's made it through before. I've gotten scissors through before without realizing they were in there. I mean, that's So some statists will say to me, yeah, but TSA keeps us safe. Yeah, crap. No, they don't. If you are really worried about this kind of issue, if you're worried about bad guys doing bad things on planes, Bring back the Air Marshal program. Why did they stop the Air Marshal program? You really want to stop something? You really want to have some kind of actual security? Put armed air marshals back on the planes. Why did they stop that? TSA is just a crappy jobs program for wannabe tyrants. And we just put up with these small frog in a boiling pot violations of our rights day by day. And I'm just sick and tired of it. And this wouldn't have been, well, I think it would have been bad for anybody if they're trying to coerce you into the machine or miss your flight. But it was particularly bad, when they were dealing with someone who disclosed right up front that they were about to have a freaking autistic meltdown. Like, they need to have some kind of appropriate procedures in place for that. And we've heard of this happening before, which with much younger people that have had autism that have been really, like, there's no training or sensitivity on the point of TSA agents for people with different needs. But anyway, that's my TSA story. And again, not the biggest nightmare you have heard, but things shouldn't have to be some big nightmare for us to get outraged by them. I'm old enough where I remember that everyone could just go through the x-ray machine and you could wait at the gate with your loved ones and you could meet them as they have come off the plane. Why can't we do that now? Put air marshals back on the planes. Do the x-ray thing. That's fine. Not the stand-up one. I'm talking about the, you know what I mean. I know I'm not calling that big whirly machine the right thing, but you guys know what I mean. But I remember as a kid, you'd have to walk, metal detector, that's what I mean. You'd have to walk through the metal detector. You'd have to put your carry-ons through that conveyor belt thing. Fine, whatever. That's been there as long as I can remember. But you used to go wait with your relatives before you left and meet them. Right? Airports are just such an unpleasant, demeaning experience right now. And for what? For what? You could have 100% safety or 99.9% safety if you just give up all of your rights. But is it worth it? And I'll tell you, I would have no problems with air marshals on airplanes. Because forget about even the very rare times when you're going to have something with really terrible people. I'm being really careful on my language because I don't want YouTube to strike my video. But sometimes you have people who just have psychotic breaks on planes, and the stewards, the flight staff isn't equipped to take care of it. So fine, I would feel a lot safer and have no problem with that. But you think you have safety with these blue glove tyrants? You've got to be kidding me. But okay, shorter show today. Wrapping this up again, please consider donating to my secretary campaign. I'd really appreciate it. I think I'm doing another show. Tonight. If I can find the video clip, I want to analyze Nick Sarwark's completely bizarre appearance on Morning Joe. And I believe Kathy sent me that link. So I need to see if I can find it. And if I can, we might go through that. And I do realize I need to get back to some LP history shows. Other stuff just keeps coming up. But if you see me schedule another live, that means that I found the link, and we'll go over Mr. Sarwark's. I don't have the Yes, Ms. Harlow's clip. I really need that. I really should download that before the show. But anyway, might see you in a bit. Otherwise, we'll try to do that one tomorrow. All right. Thank you so much.
You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business, not because they wanna